since I already tweeted it out, which is always important.
Promoting is important.
Do you like the new? Oh, you're not logged in yet, so you can't see the ridiculous.
It's like a.
You can't see the new
birthday present.
You can't see the new Butcher's Market live sketched meats.
You sent it to me though. I know. I know.
Hopefully the people will be happy for the sketched meats, not sketchy meat.
No,
sketched meats. All right, let's go ahead and make this thing happen. It is Thursday. It is just past 2:00. That means it's time for an OG Butcher's Market Live. Big thanks to the Butcher's Market for taking over OG Live on Thursdays as the presenting sponsor. As always, we thank our friends at Copiers Plus as well. You can check them out online at copiers-plus.com. And today we are inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh, thanks to our friends at Empire Properties. But Joe, this is the new era of OG Live with our friends at the Butcher's Market, which I was at earlier today. The one thing I forgot about that I was reminded of today, outdoor seating for your sandwiches.
I was going to say, you forgot that the steak sandwich was undefeated.
Well, no, steak sandwich, I don't forget that. What I forgot about was, this one's built a little bit differently.
Oh, the Lake Boone's amazing.
They have a really nice little outdoor area on days like today, which are gorgeous. So get yourself a sandwich, go sit outside, and enjoy the day. Thanks to our friends at the Butcher's Market. So that's what it's all about. One other note in the Lake Boone Shopping Center, too, because we've been starting the shows this week, kind of highlighting ways that you can help recovery efforts in the western part of North Carolina in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. And our friends at Two Roosters, who have a location over in the epicenter of corporate Championtown.
Was there yesterday.
You were there yesterday. And one of the things that Jared is working on, and you know how Jared puts like whole apple pies and things.
Oh, man.
You got the Appalachian apple stack cake, which they're busy baking, creating, delivering these apple stack cakes to shops all over the next 2 days. So this is something that is available for purchase as of yesterday. So it's available right now. And 100% of the proceeds from that sale of that flavor will go to Hurricane Helene relief in the mountains of North Carolina. You had it?
I did, and I got us a giant jug of it for the Roback OG Golf Classic on Friday.
Oh, I'm excited about this. Yeah, I was at the Canes game last night, which ended up being a revenue from ticket sales going to hurricane relief efforts. They also had auctions while it was taking place. And I get that it's a preseason game and the Canes did not have their prime roster out there. It certainly was the baby Canes and then some. So as Corey Lavalette pointed out, not really going to take some no big takeaways from yesterday's games. But really what yesterday was about was a bunch of people in the building raising money for hurricane relief efforts. So that was very, very cool to see. The Canes were extremely excited about the amount of money that was raised yesterday for hurricane relief efforts. And we've got some stuff that's kind of kicking around, kind of cooking to see what we can do. I will say this, and one thing you can do now, our friends over at Bond Brothers in Cary, Whit Baker, who's friends with a lot of brewers out in the western part of the state. You know, we're talking about places like Zillicoa or Dissolver, who has a tap room in here. I love Dissolver's beer. Look, they're struggling right now. And it's not even just to get up and running. We also don't know what things are going to be like in terms of how long it's going to take to get back to a normalcy in terms of tourism. I mean, that's a big driver for Asheville, in particular for these breweries, which is a big reason why people go. So I was talking to Whit today about what's going on there, and I can't stress this enough. If you got items to send to the western part of the state, you can go to Bond Brothers in Cary, drop that stuff off, and I think they've sent 4 18-foot trailers with a bunch of pallets of stuff that go to Concord as a staging area, and then they're airdropping it in to the western part of the state. So those are all ways that you can help right now. We'll see how things go forward. So that's where we are. We're going to talk to, we already talked to Rod Brind'Amour when we went to Canes practice today. Talked to Rod for a few minutes. Mike Maniscalco, Canes play-by-play, is going to drop on by as well. Ryan Nanni from the Shutdown Fullcast, one of the stars of the Sports Podcast Festival. He's also going to join us because he's got a new podcast with Stephen Gottfried called Who Killed College Football?
Very appropriate and timely.
Yes, very appropriate and timely topic right now, given the week of news that we've had. But Joe, I feel like sometimes we get a little too caught up in the great conversation about the future of college football that we forget there's actual college football taking place right now. There are important games. So, you know what that means? It's time to run through a couple of these things. NC State is hosting Wake Forest. I know you talked to our friend Josh Goodson for Law of the Wolf, and I think you guys did a greatest hits of NC State should have beaten this Wake Forest team, but ...
There was a few of those.
Oh, I know. It's like a Mount Rushmore of NC State should beat Wake Forest, but ... I don't see a Jamie Newman on this roster.
I don't. And State has won 3. In fairness to State,
yes,
they have won 3 of the last 4 in this series.
Yes,
and they are trending in the right direction after the win over Northern Illinois. Wake Forest is 1-3. They're down bad.
Mm-hmm.
I am fearful that the big losers in the NIL and portal era are going to be the Wake Forest team and Deacons, and it's playing out that way right now. Now they've had some close losses, but not exactly to great teams. Not that I think State's a great team, but I do think they're better than the teams that Wake has played other than Ole Miss.
Well, here's the great question, and I put this in the podcast description for both NC State and North Carolina. Their deficiencies will be tested this weekend. In the case of NC State, you can move the ball on Wake Forest. Okay?
Yes.
I mean, the last
they're 127th in total defense.
Dude, it's bad. It's bad. Wake Forest in their last 3 games, they gave up 40 points to Ole Miss, 31 to Virginia, 41 to Louisiana. Right now, they're giving up 184 yards on the ground, average, 285 yards passing per game. FPI, here's where it's funny. You're like, oh yeah, Wake Forest is dead last in ESPN's FPI metric with a grand total of 3 wins this season. But you know I think they're at 88. But you know who's at 80? NC State, with a projected win total of 6. So there's not that much of a difference between NC State and Wake Forest. If you look at the metrics, you mentioned where they were defensively. I think in terms of what's that stat, like offensive opportunities or whatever it is, success rate. Wake Forest is really, really bad when it comes to other teams and their offensive success rate. So that's really the question. For as many issues that people have had with the offense with NC State, well, here's a way to see if you can actually move the ball, if you can put some points on the board, because Wake Forest is allowing that. So I'd be curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, listen, I'm not sure NC State's going to be a juggernaut this year, even if they roll off a few wins here, which they have the ability to do. The big question is, how much progress can they make? We saw it on defense last week. Can they put some things together offensively? Wake Forest certainly offers an opportunity. That defense certainly offers an opportunity to get more out of CJ Bailey, more out of all those weapons you went into the portal to go and get, and maybe a little bit more out of your offensive line too, right? I think the more games that we get into the season, the more you're going to see a team get comfortable with who they are.
All right, over to North Carolina and Pitt, the rivalry. The Bubba Cunningham Cup will unfold. This is where I don't expect a lot of fan support, right? Even though Mac Brown's like, hey, show up, that's what you can do for these kids. That's going forward. Look for some fan support. But where I think they do need fan support is, how do you stop the run? And that's where Duke got back into the game this past weekend. North Carolina having a 20-0 lead, and Duke reels off a 21-point run, 21 unanswered points. And a big reason why Duke ended up being successful is because they committed to running the ball on a North Carolina defense that has a hard time stopping the run, let alone just tackling guys. And right now, I wasn't expecting to say this with Pat Narduzzi these days, but offensively,
juggernaut.
They're kind of cooking right now offensively. And the reason why is because they are running the damn ball. So that's another deficiency. As I said earlier, NC State's got their offensive deficiencies that they can take advantage theoretically against Wake Forest. Now my curiosity is of UNC and why you brought Jeff Collins here, if they can get up off the mat after another breakdown against Duke, against a Pitt offense that's cooking.
Yeah, it's one thing to lose in a blowout fashion, the way that Carolina did against James Madison. It's another to lose to your rival in Duke in heartbreaking, gut-stomping fashion.
Yeah.
The way that Carolina did last week. Now, I will say players respond better than fans do. But I still think this is a tough ask. Pitt had the week off. Pitt really has figured a few things out. Their new offensive coordinator is from Western Carolina, and their number 1 running back is from Western Carolina. Their number 2 receiver is from Western Carolina. Things we've learned in the past, whether it's college basketball or college football. Kids from the state of North Carolina or who spent any time here love to play against the Tar Heels.
They do. They absolutely do. From our friend Paul, at least Carolina isn't good enough to be in the crosshairs of the Pitt super weapon. Yeah, that's more in line. I haven't looked at Miami's future schedule. You're right. Do they play Pitt this year? Because that's something that can
almost assuredly, because like who does Miami play?
It fouled up Miami back in 2017. Remember?
It did.
So when
Clemson in 16.
That's right. Just go out and beat Clemson.
Yeah.
What's the big deal, right? So yeah, Carolina's not good
Pitt
enough.
And Miami do not play this year.
Oh, then Miami's fine.
They got Cal, Louisville, FSU, Duke, GT, Wake.
That's right.
Cuse.
That's right. So I'm not optimistic for the Tar Heels this weekend, but it's college football. Things are funny like that. Speaking of Georgia Tech, this is what I find wild. We're going to get into this.
This is a wild one.
Do you want to? You know what? Screw it. Let's just go ahead and do this because I find this fascinating. All right. Correct me if I'm wrong. Duke is undefeated, right?
They are.
How are they a dog and a substantial dog to Georgia Tech?
I expected this line to be 3.5, 4.
Is it 9 now?
Maybe 7, maybe 6.
Is it
begging
9?
you to take Georgia Tech? It's 9, which means almost all of the money is going to be on Duke because people are going to talk themselves into, wait, Duke's unbeaten. Wait. Defensively, Duke's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wait, Georgia Tech, this isn't a ranked team. Yeah. They're not playing a ranked team.
That's
right?
Easy money, right?
It's 9, man. And honestly, I would take Georgia Tech. I know you guys think I'm a Duke hater, but I would take Georgia Tech.
Okay.
Pure points predictor. Let's see, Joe. Let's get super gambly on you.
Oh, wow. We're going deep on this one.
The pure points predictor has GT as a 73. Let's find Duke on the pure points. There they are. Pure points, Duke is a 71. So this should be a 5-point line, and it's 9. So
Vegas knows, right?
I don't know. I don't know how they got there.
Vegas knows, right?
Pure points says take the Blue Devils and the points.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I was actually scrolling through the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now, and I was looking for that Clemson Florida State game.
14.5. No DJ Uiagalelei. That might be a bonus for Florida State, though.
I saw a meme making the rounds for DJU. Who was it? What was it? What's his face? Gardner Minshew. He wanted to get out of ECU, but he took a hammer.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, some folks have pointed out that that's what DJU is doing to get out of the rest of the Florida State season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, I have on my app, I've got Clemson -15.
Wow. It's I would take Clemson going forward. I would take Clemson in any situation where they're under 20.
The reason why I think this game is interesting, just from the perspective of tying it back to one of the talking points that I had come up with coming out of ACC kickoff, right? And it was the great referendum on where Dabo is as a program and where Mike Norvell had taken Florida State quickly with the transfer portal and everything else. Now, as we see, the transfer portal has blown up in Mike Norvell's face, whereas Dabo doubled down on his culture, doubled down on his guys, and it remains to be seen just how good they are. But I know you keep mentioning this. They're certainly good in the ACC.
Yeah.
And at this point, I've seen enough out of the rest of the ACC to say, yeah, man, we're headed towards a Miami-Clemson ACC title game. But if these have been close games between the Tigers and the Seminoles the last couple of years.
Oh, Florida State should have beaten them 2 years ago. They should have beaten them.
Very, very close games. I don't expect a close game this go around. I think Dabo's got it's weird. We've seen the FU, we're still Clemson on North Carolina teams.
Yeah.
I have a sneaky suspicion that Dabo's got a little bit of so you wanted me to do this guy's thing, right? Well, let me show you that I still run this league, and I'm going to put it up on them. One comment from Bull City coordinators: Duke is an underdog because the offense is still a bit of work in progress, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Devils cover. The defense has been solid all season from Martin. Duke can't even hide his Duke hate. Stay on that side during the basketball season, homie. Are you going to go see Cooper Flag at any point?
No.
Okay. Well, when I apply for credentials, I'll make sure.
I've already like screen grabbed some breathless Cooper Flag stuff.
I know you're keeping track of it.
I'm not sure.
I know you're keeping track of it. So with DraftKings, look, getting into college football, super easy. And a way to make it a heck of a lot more fun is through the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Super easy for first-timers to get started. You can try something simple like just picking a money line, just picking a team to win. That's where the noob in me started.
Yeah.
Like, I just think this team is going to win. Cool. I'll put $5 down on that. I
saw that the Hurricanes were plus 13,000 at one point after the first period last night. Did you?
I did not touch that.
I thought you might.
Nah, you know what? I got too distracted because I was with Jacob's hockey team and I just got to talking.
Did you wear the jacket?
No, Caleb ended up wearing. No, Caleb wore the jacket. It was funny. I told Jacob today, I said, Mr. Joe is going to be upset at me because I'm not wearing the Junior Canes jacket while we go talk to Rod. He goes, why does he care? He's like, nah, because Joe thinks it's funny. That's
awesome.
But Caleb had to wear the jacket because he forgot his hoodie. So he was rocking the jacket last night. Anyway, for all the newbies out there, get into the college spirit with DraftKings. New customers, all you got to do is bet $5 and you will get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the promo code OG24. Again, that's code OG24. New customers get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5.
Before you hit the disclaimer.
Before the disclaimer from Matt and Carborough. What's the line on an Ovies anytime hole in one with the 14 wood tomorrow? Plus 6,900.
No,
nice.
No.
Nice.
Plus 6,900,000.
Yeah, there's not going to be an anytime hole. From Eric, Giglio catching strays no matter what team he talks about. Everybody hates my team. Hey, man, there's something about being named Joe in this market where people are convinced that we just don't like your team. That's just straight up like that. It's ridiculous. It's whatever. Anyway, that's DraftKings. Check them out. Use that promo code OG24.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
One other football pick. We got Panthers and Bears. I was actually texting with our friend Mike Kay of the Charlotte Observer earlier today.
Are they really playing each other?
Yeah, this a win by the Panthers erases all narratives from the last 2 years, right?
And the trade,
right? It's null and void. Is that what happens?
You almost have to play them today, don't you?
You get DJ Moore back. You get all that stuff. All right, give me the picks back. All that stuff. We beat you because everybody said, "Oh, you're running away with it. Look how you got fleeced. Oh my goodness." Now, look. All jokes aside about the Panthers and the Bears, this is a very winnable game for the Carolina Panthers, given what we've seen the last 2 weeks offensively. And knowing what we know about the Bears offense so far, they're near the bottom in just about every league category.
Their offensive line's bad.
Offensive line is bad. Caleb Williams looks like a rookie quarterback, regardless of what you thought of him and where he might go. He's looking like a rookie QB. He's shown some flashes. It's not going well right now offensively. However, this is where their defense, that has been a problem, could give Caleb Williams and that crew the medicine that they need. The question is whether or not the developments they've had with Andy Dalton offensively and more cohesion with what the offense they're trying to run with Dave Canales, where those opportunities that were missed in the Bengals game, which was very, very much there for them, they cash in this go round. You go back and you watch that game and you realize that it goes completely differently on the first 3 offensive drives if they just punch it in. Okay, just punch it in. So I think those opportunities lost is something they've probably hammered all throughout the week. This is a better Bears defense than what you saw with the Bengals defense, but I do think it really just comes down to, can the Carolina Panthers defense at least show some teeth despite the injuries against an offense that's been struggling? And next thing you know, they're 2-1 with Andy Dalton as a starter. And as we joked around with Julian Council from Locked On, they're just a game out of the division, Joe.
Cross that bridge when we get there.
We have to talk about it now.
I do think this is a more winnable game for them. The Bears have struggled for sure up front on their offensive line.
All right. Paul pointed this out. Apparently, the lowest ticket price of this game is like $250. So apparently, the storylines of this game matter.
Oh, don't underestimate Bears fans.
That's true.
I mean, they're up there, man.
Hey, man, the optimism gets you every single time.
Housekeeping.
Big thanks to Inovana. They dropped by the house this week to clean. They do a fantastic job as always. You can get your house clean with our friends at Inovana. All you got to do is go to Inovana.com, ENOVANA.com, green cleaning solutions.
If you have mess inside your engine or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Inovana.
As we mentioned, we got the OG Golf Classic. Our friends at Roback are helping us out with that. Use that promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order. Joe's got another Roback on today.
I'm still not as good as Julian.
No, Julian. Well, neither of us are as handsome as Julian. Okay.
I'm excited. Ben and the crew are going to be here. I feel like I'm meeting Santa Claus.
I'm looking forward to meeting Ben.
I mean?
Yes. I'm excited.
I could not be more excited.
No, I'm excited
to meet Ben and the Roback crew. If you are in the OG Golf Classic, the Roback OG Golf Classic, you are in for a treat tomorrow. That's what I'm going to tell you.
Now, we have a bourbon raffle that is taking place at the OG Golf Classic. That is for people who are participating in the OG Golf Classic. Do we have any groups still available or spots available?
No, we got there.
We got there.
Okay,
I'm just making sure.
Yes.
I'm just making sure. Do we need to stay ready all-star to Roback? You never know.
I know. His our guy is ready to step in if necessary. I know Ken will be there too. Ken actually texted me a picture of his outfit. He's ready, man. He's rollbacking up.
I love it.
Ben needs to meet Ken too. Him and my dad are their two best customers.
I love that. If you're not going to be making it the golf tournament, but you still want to get in on some of the bourbon raffle, well, we have a special bourbon raffle for you.
That's going to end here right when we're done today.
Okay, so this is your last opportunity. Well, the podcast goes out though.
It's fine. If we can always help somebody down the road if they're interested at a later date. But today, right? 5 o'clock today, I'll be contacting the winners for this one.
End of business
today.
Business today. So if you're watching live on YouTube right now, go ahead and Venmo Joe. What's your Venmo again?
Giglio Joe.
So these are the bourbons that you could have. We got the Stag, we got the Buffalo Trace, we got the Antique 107 Weller, we've got an Eagle Rare, we got a Four Roses Small Batch Select, and that Basil Hayden Caribbean
cask.
Very excited. Very nice. That. So 3 tickets for $50.
You want me to pull that one aside for you?
No, it's
or
okay.
You're okay. Okay.
I'm sure Ken can find me another one.
Okay.
10 tickets for 100, 30 tickets for 200. Again, get on it now. What's that Venmo again, Joe?
Giglio Joe.
Do it. Absolutely do it. Big thanks to our friends at Mosquito Authority. They're going to be helping us out with the golf tournament. Just got sprayed this week, right?
Correct.
That's key.
We're all ready. We're keeping you safe over there.
That is clutch, man. Let me tell you. So contact them today at bugsbite.com. You can bundle and save with Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. And of course, our friends at Longleaf Swine. You will likely see me there this weekend because the brunch is undefeated, Joe.
Sunday, get the breakfast burrito. I had no idea until I stumbled on it at the tailgate, because if you want to punch up your tailgate, hit up our friends at the Longleaf Swine. So,
or just park in the post office. Nobody's gonna tell you. So we're going to talk to Mike Maniscalco here in just a little bit, but we did go to Hurricanes practice today. I did joke with Jacob, who they didn't have school today, Rosh Hashanah, and I brought him to practice so he could get some ideas to take back to his team. He really enjoyed the shootout to see the loser would have to do the up and backs a couple of times. But Rod got him out of it. If they could clear a puck from one end to the other into the goal, they wouldn't have to do the up and backs, which happened. I said, look, man, you see, there's really no difference between the adults and 13-year-olds, if you really think about it. Regardless, we caught up with Rod Brind'Amour after practice just to kind of where the conversation got started with opportunities. He was having a scrum. They were talking about a lot of young guys. I think for the most part. And Tom Edwards wrote about this on OG Triangle Media, part of the newsletter for OG fans. Like the first three lines are essentially set. It's what's that fourth line going to look like, and how are the core guys going to step up when this group is decidedly different? And that's where the conversation started.
Key word so far this preseason has been opportunities for veterans and opportunities for a lot of these new guys. A correct assessment?
Yeah, I mean, every training camp's the same. I mean, no, it is. I mean, you got everybody knows who's going to be on the team, minus maybe a here or there, where you're like, and it's the here or there that you're figuring out, and you looking at a lot of guys for the here or there, like who could be that fit now and in the future, right? You're trying to assess it all, and the only way to do that is to play games. Practice is what it is, but you need to drop the puck, and now you can see how they think, and that's why we're doing it.
I guess when I say opportunities too for the veteran guys, it goes back to conversations we had at the end of the season, going through the offseason and what this team makeup's going to look like. Opportunities for Natchez, conversations you've had with him this offseason. Opportunities for Aho to go to another level, even Svechnikov as well. So what have those conversations been like with the core group that more is expected?
Well, that's where the opportunity lies for some guys. Tough because we played one game with them, so it's like, okay, I mean, and not against an NHL team. So now that makes it a little tougher for assessment, but to your first point, the opportunity's there for somebody to do more, and that's what all these guys want. They all want more. In the past, when you have a real good team that's deep, then the opportunity's there, but not for necessarily more, because we have others. And now when you don't maybe have as deep a team, you do need the more, if you know what I mean, out of guys. So is it not just getting a little more? I don't know if it's more opportunity. Everyone kind of says it is, but he's already done. We're playing every situation possible. Sure. It's just, is it, the first look on a power play versus the second? Okay. It's not going to affect your minutes that much, but maybe a different opportunity.
Gotcha.
Svesh, same, but we need a little more out of those guys, because we're going to rely on them more, because we just maybe don't have as much backing them up, if that makes sense. Which should be fine if
they do it.
Right.
At the risk of spraining our elbow, patting ourselves on the back, our summer conversation with you, people were genuinely surprised, wow, Rod was crazy honest, and you guys got great answers out of Rod. And I was like, yeah, I mean, we've known him for 25 years, right? So
in no way is that depressing.
So I'm curious, when did you hit the kind of mental reset to get ready for this season, to say, okay, here's the challenge in front of us, here's the team that we have, and the goal obviously remains the same?
I'm not sure that I'm even hit that, to be quite honest, because I'm not saying I'm even sure yet on our group as far as these pieces fit, right? Where's the best fit for everyone? I think that's still a scramble, to be honest. And we'll have another test tomorrow, which hopefully will give us a little more clarity. But basically 2 games is probably what most of these guys are going to get. It's not a big sample size to feel real good about. I'm clear. So it's going to, I think, take a little time during the season.
It's a process.
And it's a process, and then it'll morph into everyone will be. I think it'll be pretty clear. It usually is.
Now, what's the process for you? There's this coaching arc. There's taking over the job.
Year 7, man.
Yeah, there's you taking over the job, and I'm in charge now, right? And then there's building to the group you had the last couple of years. With I don't want to say window, but we understood what the last couple of years was about. And now there's this different core group, but a lot of new guys. You talk about depth. It's a different kind of team. So how do you approach it in your own process? How do you learn from this?
Not different. I don't think you look at it any differently.
Okay.
We have the same objective, and now it's maybe you have different pieces, but the objective doesn't change. And I think we all feel pretty good about how we need to play to be effective, so that shouldn't change much. You have to obviously adapt and make your little adjustments into the style, but really we have a pretty good style. It's getting everyone to understand it. The new guys, how hard it is to play. It's easy to talk about it, but then you got to go do it. And I think that's still a process that we're going to take a little time. But, I mean, like I said, I think we have a good group here. I don't think anything's changed. We've lost some pieces. We brought in some really good pieces, and now we'll see how good. I think that's really it. That's the kind of the question mark. You knew what you had.
Yeah.
You're brought in. You're not sure, but I'm pretty excited about it too. So that's why it's like, all right. And then the whole thing about the new guys with the opportunity of the younger players, is there one that's going to step in and surprise you and kind of upset the whole apple cart a little bit of, who fits where. That's exciting too, because I think there is a couple guys that may do that.
I think we got one more here.
Last year, you brought in Mike Krzyzewski to talk to the team. He knew how to be a favorite and a front runner. Did you get smart this year? Did you call Kevin? Did you call Kevin Cates and say, I want an actual champion in here? Who can get my group going? Not this Duke guy.
What did they win though? Wait a second.
Oh, this is
they won the ACC. They won the first time.
That's like saying we won what did we win a couple years ago? The Northeast Division,
right? The Metro,
Metro.
The Central.
But if
you won the
hadn't won the division,
but
like if it was like,
that's my view on that. But yes, Keith's. I actually gotten to know him a little bit. And, I'm not sure. We'll see.
The standard always remains the standard.
You can verify this. When I saw you ahead of a hockey practice, and we were having a conversation, and I said to you, "You've never sounded more Canadian," because of the whole college thing. No, winning an ACC championship is a big deal. But your mindset is no. I mean, look, man. There's a picture of you, and you are not touching that conference trophy.
Upstairs.
No. You're not touching that thing. You're not touching that thing. So I get it.
What is that? Second place. That's a guarantee of second place.
You're a fourth.
Yeah, whatever.
You made the Final Four.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know what you mean.
We have a little different. I think maybe outlook.
Yes.
It's a little different.
Yes.
Great year though. Listen, you got to give it to state athletics was. This is the best I've been here for a long time. I mean, I'm all about it. That was good. We got to celebrate that. How about that?
There we go.
All right.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Thanks, Coach.
Right.
We'll see you around. I was not expecting that. That was Rod Brind'Amour, who we talked to earlier today. Let's take a quick hockey break, shall we?
Take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hill.
They are back in the building, Joe. So if you're looking for healthy options at Lenovo Center, Happy and Hale's there for you. I'm excited about this.
I'm looking for great options. Fill you up, get you ready. Good base, just in case. You're going to make some bad choices after making a good one.
Trust me, I made a lot of bad choices last night. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to a little Happy and Hale. Download the app. If you're not going to be at the arena, you can always pick it up as a tailgate option if you want. North Hills, obviously, North Raleigh, and of course, their location out in Durham. Let's say hello to the voice of the Carolina Hurricanes. He is Mike Maniscalco. Mike! What up, man?
Hey, guys. I was actually going to swing by the studio, and then I saw that you sent me the link, so I get to stay in my house. I'm in the middle of moving right now, so that's actually a good thing. So
yeah.
My wife knows that I am unpacking and packing all at the same time here, not just running around town.
Let's unpack the discussion around the Carolina Hurricanes and a little bit of hateration, I think, with the Carolina Hurricanes. We just talked about this with Brind'Amour, and in a very Brind'Amour way, he's not changing his mindset, even though the group and even though we can understand things are a little bit different, he's not going to change that mindset, which is fine. But there clearly has been a change in mindset around the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm not going to go so far to say, oh, they're not making the playoffs, but I think it's kind of underselling what Rod has built if you think that losing some key pieces is the difference between them being near the top of their division versus making the playoffs altogether. I could see them getting in the playoffs, just not win the division. Simple as that.
Well, again, and I'm going to hit this on the head, and if this strikes a nerve with Giglio, I'm sorry, Joe, but they're not in the business of hanging banners for making the tournament or getting to the Final Four. The only banner they care about is the one that says that they won the whole thing. And that's the mindset. I'm just saying, I mean, hey, again, if that's what you want, if you're into drapes, be all about it. That's what I say. But the Canes have moved past that now, especially, when we look at the previous 6 seasons of what Rod Brind'Amour has done as the head coach of this team and what he brings to the party. The mentality is they want to be the best team in the league. The funny thing to me, if I asked you guys, there are 2 really big pieces that we were familiar with last year were the Carolina Hurricanes, who aren't here this year. And one piece we weren't really, really sure of, and then another piece up front who was quiet, and you kind of don't say you forget he was there in Teuvo Teravainen. But there are 4 pieces that you really look at that are gone from last year's team that you really said, okay, the Canes are counting on. They're not that much different than what they have this year coming in. And that team last year was favored to win the cup. So I think when you talk about like hateration, you guys know this, and Joe Giglio, you know this because you have to sell newspapers back in the day when that was a real thing. And Ovies, you and I had to get people to listen in the old day. You get fatigued when you keep picking the same team over and over and over again. And I think that's what happened with the national pundits who have, for the last 3 years say, oh, it's the Canes year. It's the Canes year. Well, now they move on to the next thing because it's going to be easy to say, well, they lost 2 core defensemen. They lose Teuvo Teravainen. They don't have Michael Bunting, who was here last year at the start, but basically they traded for Jake Gensel, who's not here. So they look at what's not there as opposed to what stayed and then what they added. So I think that this group is actually good with the chip on its shoulder and fly under the radar, because I look at them and I look at the division. If you want to say they're not going to win the division, that's fine. But if you think that this isn't a playoff team, who jumps in front of them in the Metro Division, or what's happened in the Atlantic to cause a seismic shift where they're going to have the wild card teams? I mean, I like Tampa, and I don't bet against John Cooper, and I talk about Pittsburgh all the time with Sidney Crosby, but the Canes the last few years have been better than those 2 organizations the last 2 seasons. So nothing's really changed in my mind for that core group. Yes, there's pressure on Andrei Svechnikov and Marty Necas to, all right, you got it, you got the bag, now deliver. Now that it's there, that's going to be on them. But I think that there are 2 players who are capable of doing that.
One thing you've learned, Mike, in your time here in the Triangle, we love a new guy. We love a shiny new toy, don't we?
Yeah.
So who's the new guy this year who fans are going to like immediately glom onto? Mike Maniscalco calling a late game out in that initial road trip. Someone's going to score 3 or 4 goals on that road trip, and it's going to be, oh, we found him. Got him. We found him.
Well, there's 2. I don't know if it's going to be the offensive outburst like that, Joe, but I think Canes fans are going to love Sean Walker on the blue line and how he plays and what he's going to bring to the party. And Ovies, let's go back to the days of Tim Convoy and big hits. People are going to love Will Carrier in a Hurricanes uniform. I'm not penciling him for 30 goals, nor should you, but this is a guy who every year is 125, 140 hits when he plays 82 games. And right now he's installed on a line with Jordan Staal and Jordan Martinook. That's going to be one of the heaviest lines in the NHL. Canes fans are going to love Will Carrier. They are going to love the way he plays the game. Hard worker, fits into the system, does everything right. Offensively, I think that Jack Roslovic is going to fly under the radar because, people are going to look. He's been on a couple of teams, but the way the Canes play, maybe this unlocks a little bit more offense for him. But if you had me to pick the one, I'm going to go Will Carrier because everybody loves the big hitter. Sean Walker 2, Jack Roslovic 3.
Let's go deeper than that, though. I agree with Joe in that there's going to be a new guy that people are going to fall in love with. But there's one thing that Canes fans love even more is which one of these prospects, who's the next Seth Jarvis? Just like that, right? Just comes in and makes his presence known. And I always feel like Unger Storm is this guy that's tabbed that way. And Rod kind of alluded to some of the, where do these younger guys fit? Is there an opportunity there for him? Like, who might surprise? Is that somebody that, last year he flirted with the idea of doing it. What about this year with a player like that?
Oh, they've asked him to move to center, a position that he's not played before. So yeah. I don't think that they're going to throw him into the NHL with all of 3 games of preseason experience and say he's going to be the guy. They want him to develop at that position. And he's only 19 years old. And I think he's like 19 and 48 days. So just turned it. So they want him to learn the North American game. They want him to get a little bigger, a little stronger. And, you hear it for foreign players all the time from Sweden or from Finland that they're so smart in how they see the game. Unger Storm really is smart with how he sees the game. It's not just a 19-year-old. So if you're asking me for a guy who could break when he gets his chance on the scene, it's probably him. Saw it last night. Bradley Nadeau's shot, I think, is NHL caliber.
Okay.
It's the rest of the game that has to come to him. And he's going to be a guy who could use just a little bit more time in the oven before he can get there. Because if you bring in a guy like Bradley Nadeau, guys, how often do we talk about, well, this guy didn't fit here, didn't fit there? Well, you have to put him in a situation where he fits. You can't take a goal scorer and put him on a fourth line and say, well, why aren't you scoring goals? So he's going to be a guy who they want to give the opportunity to score. The guy who it could be quickest, as we're talking about the young players, is Jackson Blake. Everything he's done in a normal Canes year, when there's a little bit more room on the NHL roster, I would say that Jackson Blake would have found a way on the opening night roster to play for the Carolina Hurricanes. But the way that they've improved the bottom six this year, because he is – I love how in hockey we move things around. It used to be top six and bottom six. Now it's top nine. Now it's middle six. Jackson Blake is a middle six guy. And could be that as soon as this year. But there's just no room at the inn for him right now.
Okay. Joe and I, while we were waiting for Rod to wrap up the media scrum so we could have a couple of minutes with him, I asked Joe, I'm like, all right, well, what are you going to ask him? You got anything for him? And then I started to do the Birdman hand rub because I love a goalie question, but didn't have time for a goalie question. So we can close on this. This is not, I'm not trying to make Antti Raanta something that he wasn't, but he was literally an old reliable who's not with the team going forward. And through a variety of issues, some unforeseen, unprecedented, like we saw with Freddie Anderson last year, the Canes have had themselves some goalie flux in years past. And Raanta was a very reliable, even sometimes hurt, but he knew his role, I guess is what I'm getting at. How is it going to play out this year with some level of uncertainty with the possibility of a third guy? Like, you don't need three goalies, but I know what Canes history is at this point. So is there a third guy at this point?
Yeah, Spencer Martin is the third guy.
Spencer Martin's that guy?
Yeah,
okay.
Spencer Martin. Yeah,
Even
he's that guy.
Didn't they put him on waivers yesterday?
Yes, because you want to get him down to Chicago before any team looks around and goes, oh, we might need another goalie.
Gotcha.
Because in today's NHL, it used to be you needed like one goalie and one guy who could stand up for like 4 games during the course of a regular season.
Right.
It's now really changed. Yeah, seriously, like put the walrus in net, or how many times do I hear, I got an idea, put a sumo wrestler in there. Great idea. The pad sizes don't change. There's a rule on it, so it really wouldn't. They wouldn't give him bigger. Good. Thanks for the question. Didn't think about that. Next, let's go to Joe in North Raleigh.
All right.
Back to those days. But the interesting question, if you want to get to the goalie question, Joe, because you got to carry 3, or you got to have the organizational depth of 3. Now, the question is, when you get past Spencer Martin, could it be Ruslan Kazayev, who we haven't seen, but he's dressed for a couple of preseason games? Yaniv Peretz was put in against an NHL lineup that has guys who score a bunch of goals and have in their career. So, what you see last night, again, that's preseason. The question for me is, of Frederik Andersen and Pyotr Kochetkov, who becomes the guy? That's the question, and I think it's a fair one for the Hurricanes this year. But I am gonna allow me to put on the Canes glasses for this one.
Okay.
In the regular season, we know that Frederik Andersen can be that guy. We've seen it. But this would be a chance, and I've talked to a bunch of people about it. Maybe, just maybe, Frederik Andersen, you used Antti Raanta as old reliable. Maybe Frederik Andersen becomes old reliable. And you say we're going to run with Pyotr Kochetkov and see if we have a number 1.
Yeah.
Because Frederik Andersen is a guy you look at, he's going to get another long-term deal with the Carolina Hurricanes. So that is the question that's on the table for me. Who will emerge as they did the rotation. They're comfortable with the goalie rotation. But if we're going to say who's going to play 2 out of every 3, that's going to be the question that needs to be answered. And I think we'll get it probably by the end of October.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the rotation made sense when it was those 3 guys. I think when it's what it is now, I think it's time to see if you got something in Kochetkov, honestly. And I think the way Rod talked about,
if he's number 1.
Yeah. And I think the way Rod talked about Freddie at the end of last season and how they exited, I do think there might be a bit of a shift in, all right, let's see if the ceiling on Kochekhov's a little bit higher as opposed to the consistency of what you have in Frederick Anderson. Mike Maniscalco, we appreciate the time as always. Good seeing you at the rink earlier today, and we will talk to you throughout the season.
Always great seeing you. By the way, really, really comfortable shirt.
I see it.
I didn't want to like just tilt it because like I'm on camera here, but yeah, there you go. So
I love that. Mike Maniscalco is a Stay Ready All-Star, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Love
you don't
that.
know me like that.
I know the game, gents. I know the game.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
You got it, guys. Take care.
Folks, sometimes I feel like the OG is your home for all things hoodie, right?
Yeah.
Homefield has hoodies. But Homefield's hoodies, while they are legendary and they were the official hoodie provider of the Sports Podcast Festival, which I'm looking forward to wearing that one more often as the temperatures get a little cooler. Short sleeve shirts are very, very good. But let's also not forget that Homefield has some incredible throwback inspired gear. We've talked about those coaches' jackets. They've come out with these new satin pullovers, very old school vibes.
Yeah,
Still look
amazing.
great. They got corduroy rope hats. I know the kids are into those rope hats. By all means, check them out. The Utes are very much into those rope hats. So when you go to homefieldapparel.com, use that promo code OG24. You can save 15% off your order when you use that promo code OG24. We've been talking a lot of college football, and we just talked about hockey with Mike Maniscalco. One thing that's always there for you is our friends at Breeze Through. Check them out online at breezethrough.com. It's right there across from Lenovo Center. So if you're looking to tailgate for NC State games, if you're looking to tailgate for Hurricanes games, drop on by, hit that beer cave. Great selection. Ice, right? All those things. Snacks. They got it there. And oh, yeah, gas too. So head on over to Breeze Through. We appreciate them. And of course, Nature's Relief Hemp Store. Check them out online at naturesreliefhempstore.com, RELEAF hempstore.com. Do you have a soda for my swing tomorrow, Joe?
I do.
All right, I'm looking. Yes. I might be a little cross-faded tomorrow.
That's good.
I got Nature's Relief, and I might have some beer because our friend Catherine's going to be out there helping us out with that. So be on the lookout for, if you're at the golf tournament, me, super loose. Just telling you, man. You better time it right so I'm super loose when your group comes through.
My group will be starting on the 12th hole. So
Okay.
I get the first swing of the day. I get the maiden voyage of the 14 wood.
Oh, that's going to be interesting. That is going to be interesting. So again, big thanks to our friends at Nature's Relief Hemp Store. I know it can be an intimidating thing. You might not know what you're getting yourself into. That's why you have to go and talk to the people there. They'll make it super easy for you to understand with a variety of different products. So again, check them out online at naturesreliefhempstore.com. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline from the Shutdown Fullcast. He was just here for the Sports Podcast Festival. It was a fantastic event. And now he's going to tackle the question, who killed college football? He is Ryan Nanni. Ryan, what's going on, man?
Thank you all for having me. Can we just say that the secret star of the, well, I don't know if I want to say this for sure, but because Felder is probably the secret star of the podcast festival, but
He was.
Shirtless Felder.
Yeah, we talked to Felder earlier in the week, and I did point that out. I'm like, yeah, man. I mean, shirtless with the Jays,
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus. Who could ask for anything
PBR.
more?
yeah. But Debbie Yao was so good. She had zingers. She had good stories. Like I'd never. I'm sure y'all have talked to her multiple times.
Mhm.
This was my first experience, like hearing her sort of in a casual, like in a non-press conference setting. I would definitely like if y'all just like have Debbie Yao every year, that's fine. I'll just come listen to her zing other members of the college sports universe and the crowd from time to time.
The best part about Debbie, and Joe, you can back me up on this, is that you could tell she does this every single time. She's a little nervous. She wants to be careful with what she says, but then you can see it's like playing a video game.
Yeah.
like the XP starts to go up,
Yes,
get a little
yes.
stronger, and then by the end of the game, like I am overpowered.
Right.
I am just slaying everybody right
Yes,
now.
it's like,
amazing to
oh,
see.
you've been at the wedding reception for 2 hours and now you're ready to dance. Now you're ready to get out there.
Let's go. But look, Debbie cares about college sports. I mean, that's what brought everybody to the Sports Podcast Festival. We all like this stupid game of college football, despite the fact that those in charge of college football are constantly trying to kill it. And Giglio and I talked about this on yesterday's podcast in relation to the SEC and the Big Ten and their power grab, this college student football league that was announced and the direction they want to go. And people can get all worked up about Matt Sluka and his NIL and all this stuff. No, the people killing college football, it ain't the students, man. It's the adults in the room. Isn't that right?
Yes, and without giving away like too much of what we're doing on our show, I think we looked at the question. We sort of looked at the question of like, okay, who is affecting all this change in college football from the perspective of like who has the power to move things in one thing or one direction or the other. Maybe we will get to the point where the athletes have that sort of power. If they unionize, if they collectively bargain, like they could down the road be a force that sort of impacts what the game looks like. But nothing about the last 50 years, the last 10 years, even the last 5 years suggests that like, oh yeah, that's the group that is really pushing realignment, what the playoff looks like, any of these moves. And I think it's interesting that people are so quick to point out like, oh, they're paying the players and that's what's changing the game. That's what's ruining everything. It's like, what about all the other people who have been getting tons of money and have been making bad choices for years and decades? We don't want to talk about them anymore? That's boring? Okay.
What have you discovered in this podcast project that you guys are doing? It's called Who Killed College Football. I know Joe and I in another life did some podcast projects. They're fun.
Yes.
They're fun because you're not constrained even in this free form of podcasting. You're not constrained to a single show. You can have longer conversations. You can kind of get in and talk to some people who are maybe some of the people that you talked to that you were like, shit, that was really interesting.
So we have talked to we just talked to the commissioner of the Sun Belt yesterday, who we haven't put out any of his audio yet, but he's a guy who also he worked at the NCAA for a number of years and has just sort of like been through this round of things in a long and interesting way. We've talked to a couple of conference commissioners at this point, and maybe I guess the trickier question is like, who doesn't want to talk to us? Like we have reached out to, how should I put this? Some ESPN broadcast talent. Haven't heard a lot of like interest back from them. We've heard of some people who were previously in charge of television networks. Haven't heard a lot of interest back from them. And I think what's tricky about that is that you look back at the archives, and these were people who were so happy to talk when they were making the changes. Like when it's like, we're doing the BCS, we're doing realignment, we're doing the Longhorn Network. Like when you're happy about it and when you're out here parading, like, look at this big change we're making to the sport, everybody's really happy to do a press tour, go on radio, whatever. But when you look back and say, well, let's analyze this after the fact and let's talk about like the pros and cons, what it meant, what everybody was thinking, then it's a little harder to get people to talk to. But fortunately, we have everything they said before. And I think what we're trying to do to some extent with this show is just, it's really easy, I think, to sort of say like, all right, we're going to come out here, we're going to slam all these groups and we're going to like basically write a audio essay for you about how much these groups have ruined college football. I think instead what we're trying to do is sort of say like, let's just lay out everything they did and said, and you can sort of see the patterns yourself, and you can sort of see like where their priorities lie. And it's things as simple as, in the television episode, Notre Dame's athletic director getting super mad at the SEC for potentially leaving the College Football Association, the bargaining group that used to exist, and basically saying like, Notre Dame could leave, but we're not. We think it's important to like stick together as a group, and we know we could go make more money, but we're trying to sort of like help the little guy.
And then Kevin White or Gene Corrigan.
This is, I think it's Corrigan. Yes.
Wow.
I believe it's Corrigan. And then 3 years later, Notre Dame leaves. And it's just, we all know this. We're all used to college football power brokers saying one thing and then doing something different within a very short span of time. But I think when you sort of like put all those cards on the table, it's like, oh man, we've been doing this thing. We've been following that pattern for 40 years. It's wild. And nobody seems to stop them and nobody ever seems to care.
So, is there any going back? Like, is there any way that people will finally kind of get, people that you've talked to or how you've seen things kind of unfold?
Yeah.
Is there any possibility of people going, you know what? That Alabama-Georgia game was a reminder of what people do like about college football. Around here, as we did at the Sports Podcast Festival, yeah, man, NC State, Carolina, Duke, you probably win 7 or 8 games a year. But you know what? That Duke-Carolina game provided drama that matters here. The State-Carolina game will provide drama that matters here. Is any sort of clear thinking going to prevail, or is it too late for that?
I hesitate to say we're going to go back because I don't think any sport is particularly good at that. I don't think most industries are particularly good at like, oh, we're going to put this genie back in the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I do think there are some interesting adaptive futures to look at. And I think you can sort of see shades in it with, to use the Sun Belt as an example, in the, not this most recent round of realignment, but the one immediately preceding it. That was a league that sort of said like, okay, we're going to prioritize geography. We're done sort of like saying like, I don't know, does Boise State want to be in our league, or do we want to pluck a Mountain West team, or what's Hawaii up to? They sort of said, we need to build regional rivalries. We need to make these games that fans can get to. And I think that's largely been successful for them. And I think they've made good choices about like where they did expand to improve the quality of sports in their conference. I guess to me, the question is, I take it as a given that at some point we'll live in a Super League world.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that Super League is going to look like in terms of how many teams are in it, what relationship they have with the league below them, whatever. But I am pretty interested in what that sort of like B+ league looks like, because that to me is where it's sort of like, it feels like you're sort of forced to adopt all the things you're talking about. If you can't sort of say like, well, we are the league you go to for NFL Light,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like you might as well lean into almost like a retro thing of like, we are what college football used to be, and we give you the rivalries that you care about, and we play, at times of day when you can actually go to. We're not going to make you go to a Tuesday night game because people can't get to that. We're going to play on Saturday at 3:00. You can bring your family. You can have a good time. And there's maybe an interesting opportunity there, but it's going to require a lot of creative thinking. And I don't know how that's going to work.
I wouldn't mind. Look, if it ended up being a Big Ten SEC Super League where you have the AFC and the NFC, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because at least I know what those leagues are about.
Yeah.
But the only way it would work for me is something that is inherently anti-American when it comes to sports, and that's promotion and relegation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you guaranteed like your B+ group, right? Like, hey, the champion of the two teams that make the championship both get elevated, and one gets to go to the SEC, one gets to go to the Big Ten, and somebody has to drop back down.
Yeah.
I think that would make it spicy. But again, that's inherently not what American sports fans are about. All you have to do is look at what happened with that European Soccer Super League and the way people reacted to these guaranteed slots and it being kiboshed. That's such an American mindset of everybody gets a guarantee. It would never fly here.
I think you're right. And I think it's mostly because I don't think the promotion part is the issue. I think it's the relegation. You'd have to get these schools, because one of the smarter things that I think the SEC has done for decades now is say everybody gets paid the same. Like, we know Alabama and LSU and Georgia, we know there are bigger brands, but like, we're not wading into those waters. And other leagues have fought a lot more over, the Pac-12 used to have unequal revenue distribution. The Big 12 did unequal revenue distribution as a way to sort of like stay alive. And then, but the problem then becomes once you go to a Super League, it's sort of like, we're either all equals or we're not, and I'm not about to put my ass on the line to drop down to the lower league.
Ryan Nanni, the podcast is called Who Killed College Football. It's Ryan and Stephen Gottfried who always do fantastic work. And I guess for the format of this, is it? I'm guessing it's more like I haven't had a chance. Is it more like it's like a true crime situation? What are we doing here?
That's how we're like lightly styling it. Mostly
you're doing like a John Mulaney bit where you're like, you guys show up and so like we're gonna go to this town with all the natural sound that goes along with it.
I now I wish we had done it that way.
Given Ryan's love of Broadway, I would have enjoyed
a musical.
Yes, I would have enjoyed it. Hamilton, John Crawford would be Hamilton, and Mike Tranghese would be Aaron Burr.
And they have a rap battle in 2000.
They have a rap battle. Yeah.
The choreography would be a nightmare.
Unbelievable.
That would be the main problem.
All under the shadow of the Greensboro Coliseum.
That's right.
That's what you got to do.
So we've broken this up and sort of said we're going to take 6 suspects that we are, and we're looking through each one to just sort of say, okay, what have they done to get the sport of college football to where it is today, either through action or inaction? First episode is on television networks. Second episode, which is coming out in about a week, is about conferences. And then we have a host of other powerful groups that we sort of look at and say, okay, where does the blame lie with them or not lie with them? The reason we did it that way is that, to use the Oakland Athletics as an example, lots of people are really unhappy that they're leaving the Bay, but it's not mysterious as to why. Like, you can say it's the owner of the A's and it's MLB's ownership group, and that's it. College sports exist in this weird ownerless area where there are lots of people who can make decisions and there are lots of people who can break the machine. There's nobody who can fix it. There's no like one group that can say we can stop this and we can change it. There's so many competing interests and levels of influence that you kind of have to look at it as, the Always Sunny chart of like, okay, here's how all these disparate pieces connect, and that's sort of how we've tried to frame it in this.
And college football is the because my 13-year-old is watching Always Sunny. I don't know if that's a wise idea, but he's watching it. And I guess there's the name of the bar. They had like a moment where they let anything go.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's where college football is right now. Anything goes, and they realize maybe this isn't the best idea.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the best idea. Anyway, maybe it's not the best idea. I let my kid watch Always Sunny, but he ran through South Park and he already ran through Family Guy. So what's Always Sunny at this point?
Yeah, it'll be fine.
All right, Ryan Nanni, Who Killed College Football is the name of the podcast. As the kids would say, smash that subscribe button, follow it on your favorite podcast platforms, and 5 stars only because positive vibes only. Ryan, appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
Big thanks to our friends at Hometown Realty. Check them out online at myhtr.com. You do not want to take a guaranteed offer. In fact, Kelly and I were joking about this the other day because my dad has made some interesting realty decisions in his life.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. Love my dad. In fact, my dad's a bit of an IBM Lenovo legend. One of our listeners, Chris, had texted me. And he's like, yeah, I ran into a guy from Boca, moved up here because IBM. And he's like, oh, do you know Ovies, right? He goes, Ernie? Like, yeah, Ernie's a known commodity. When we went to the Lenovo Center thing, a lot of Lenovo people were like, where's Ernie? Right?
Yes.
But my dad, he's made some interesting decisions. Don't be like my dad when it comes to selling a house. Go with Hometown Realty. I'm just selling out my dad to make an ad here. It is what it is. Somewhere my brother's laughing his ass off. Anyway, he's probably on I-4 laughing his ass off right now. So call him, or just, again, really simple. Go to myhtr.com. You can buy and sell with confidence. And then when you've bought or sold that home, you go to our friends Whitaker and Hamer. This is pretty much the home ownership row of corporate champions. Buy, sell your house. Use Whitaker and Hamer to close it, even if you're doing something like a refinance. Like our friend Josh, he might have closed a new refinance deal with you as the rates come a little bit lower. Well, you got to take it to closing. Whitaker and Hamer can help you out with that, along with some other matters as well. Attorneys and counselors at law. Check them out online at wh.lawyer. You have that house. You got to insure that house. That's where our friend Matt Davis, InsureGarner.com, TheOGInsurance.com with State Farm. I'm looking forward to doing our Halloween spectacular from State Farm in Garner.
I'm just excited to be over on Aversboro Road.
That'd be super easy to do, right? For you. A little bit of a hike.
Maybe you got hockey that night. You don't know.
That's a good point. Well, it's a Thursday, right?
Yeah.
I will have hockey
There
that
you
night.
go. Hopefully it's there.
I might as well just post up and then head over to the Polar Ice Garner, right? Anyway, check out our friend Matt Davis, 919-779-8277 to talk directly to him because an actual human, ladies and gentlemen, is in that office. InsureGarner.com, TheOGInsurance.com, and of course, 919-779-8277. From our friend Ken, aren't we on the wrong ad for the trauma dump? I'm hoping we can rebrand it to the OG trauma dump brought to you by Homefield. We might do that in the future. We might do that in the future. You never know. Big thanks to our guy Wags. He's out in the Outer Banks. He saw some horses.
I enjoyed this.
And what do you do when you see the horses? You break out the OG hat. That's where it's at. I got to buy more hats. We got to do that, don't we?
We do.
Okay.
I kind of want to buy different hats, but
what do you want to do?
You know, I like those hats from the game, the old school.
Okay.
Either the circle with the lines or the actual just.
We can come up with another design.
Yeah. I like your High Life idea too. The champagne of podcasts.
Yeah, we got to talk to our friends over at Breaking Tea to hopefully check that out. Maybe possibly do something like that in the spring. You can go to breakingtea.com/OG to buy the Carolina Cougars inspired shirt, along with all of our other shirts too. So go to breakingtea.com/OG. First things first, we got to hammer out the Founders Club.
I think you should make me give you the Q3 sales of Breaking Tea for questioning the wisdom of the Cougar shirt. I think you should demand that.
Well, I know
our LLC is 50-50, but I think like I'll break the rules just for that.
No.
You get all of the Q3 Breaking Tea.
Absolutely not.
You didn't want the shirt. You don't get it.
I don't know how many we've sold yet because I only get them broken out quarterly.
Right.
I mean, what do you think our number one Breaking Tea shirt is?
A Dead Conference?
Second.
Oh, interesting.
Positive Vibes Only is the number one because it's
people
the most,
do like that.
People like that one, but that's number one. Number two is the Dead Conference. Number three is the OG flag.
Oh, the flag is really good.
Yeah, I think people kind of forgot about the flag.
Anna did a really good job on that.
And then the Ice Caps is number four, and then there's a drop off to the Skyhawks. That's the real question. What sells more, the Skyhawks or the Cougars? From both city coordinators, are you guys having a meeting to discuss hat designs? Don't you have a jingle for an on-air meeting? We do. I mean, that's a good point that you pointed out, that we should have a meeting about hat designs. I just don't know what we're going to do yet. We got a tweet from Bennett over at Heister Automotive Group because Joe, I don't know if you knew this or not. Don't spit out your coffee on your computer. That's an expensive computer. From Unnecessary Roughness, starting tomorrow, i.e. today, there will be football on your TV.
Okay, I'm okay now.
Every single day until November 27th. Soak it in. We made it. What exactly did we make, guys? Oh, we hit that point in the year where you can look your family dead in the eye and go, fuck off. Football's on. Maybe that's the next t-shirt. F off. Football's on. Is that what it is?
Put the haters on notice.
That's right.
Thanks to Wade.
That's right. Sorry, Wade. Sorry, Wade. My bad.
Put your family on notice.
Yeah, that's what it is.
They can spend quality time together watching the OG and football, but that's it. No other time together.
Hey, it's Thanksgiving. I don't give a shit because I gotta watch action.
Babe. Sorry, babe. Can't do it.
What's wrong with you people, man? No, the thing is, I'm not trying to yuck your yum. I'm really not. I'm really not trying to yuck your yum.
Yeah.
Because I'm a proponent of like what you like, man. Like what you like. But
run your own race, man.
But No other sport brings about this whole telling on yourself quite like football. That, oh man, honey, I understand it is the daddy-daughter dance, but it happens to be on the same night as UNLV versus Tarleton State. What am I supposed to do? I know. I'll make sure I have it on my phone while I'm at this event. That's what you got to do.
Whew. You made it.
We absolutely made it. All right, to the YouTube comments, where Zach calls what? What did Paul say?
No, Paul, we're
Yeah.
not using that language anymore.
Yeah.
We're putting the haters on notice.
That's right. We made it to
We
prime.
put your family on notice.
We made it to prime, putting your family on notice season. You're right. We have. From Zach, Joey G, absolutely right. The SEC would never give up their cash cow, not unless the monies make their way to the SEC pockets somehow. Yeah, no, that's the way to go about it. From Beunified, any notion the SEC or its member schools would simply give away the advantages they currently have is pure fantasy. Yeah, look, I agree with that sentiment as it relates to what's going on with the SEC and the Big Ten and all that stuff. And I actually saw an interview with Greg Sankey where he pretty much said like, oh, no. We have this relationship. What's the difference between what we would do with the Big Ten and scheduling is what we do in basketball? I mean, other than the fact that there's a bazillion basketball games and spending a week playing the ACC SEC Challenge doesn't completely dismantle how you do your television setups.
Pretty sure the NCAA tournament only includes one guaranteed spot to the conference.
But not if Greg Sankey got his way.
Well.
Not I forgot who made this point. It might have been Dan Wetzel at Yahoo Sports who said he basically questions whether or not Greg Sankey even likes sports. You know, like he just wants money. This is a driver of money. He's a businessman. Do you actually like sports? He might not. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Butcher's Market OG Live. Can you identify the 8 cuts of meat, Joe, that are currently on your YouTube?
Let's see. We got a little porterhouse there.
Yeah.
The other one's a ribeye.
Uh-huh.
Ooh. Yeah, now I'm in the strip is underneath. Is that a fillet next to the porterhouse?
That's a fillet next to the porterhouse, yeah.
I don't know what that is. I think that's a strip next to the left circle.
Yeah.
Don't know what that is.
Either way, doesn't matter. They look good, and you can get them all.
You've scored them, so that's good.
Yeah, man. That's where it's at.
It's good. They're all fillets. Ken says they're all fillets.
Well, yeah, but they're different cuts, man. They're different cuts.
Okay.
Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. We will see y'all on when's our next actual show?
We'll get tomorrow, man. We have the OG.
We get the mailbag.
We get the Butcher's Market OG mailbag.
We do have the Butcher's Market OG mailbag, so check that out. Go to ogtrianglemedia.com, sign up today so you get the extra 5th episode.
Giglio, you ignorant slut. Yes, sir. Yes, I am.
Joe, the whole point of the premium content is that we wouldn't give you ads, and here you are selling ads. But it's a very special ad.
It is.
From our friends at the Butcher's Market. We will see y'all next week.